breakout room?
I mean, it's a pretty simple issue, Judge. I don't think that we need to talk too much.
All right. Are you ready to proceed?
We are, Judge.
All right. And we need to go back on YouTube, and we got
You are.
We're good.
You are.
This is called 662-066, State of Texas versus Joshua Sanchez. This is a motion to enter adjudication of guilt and revoke community supervision. Representing Mr. Sanchez is Mr. Luis Martinez. Representing the state is Assistant Criminal District Attorney Eddie Villarreal. And representing the Bexar County CSCG is Ms. Susan Gross, who I remind is still under oath. I have two documents for Mr. Sanchez and Mr. Martinez to identify their signatures on for me. The first one is entitled Defendant's Consent to Motion to Revoke Hearing by Video Conference. There's an administrative glitch, and Mr. Sanchez's name is misspelled as S as in Sierra A-N-C-E-Z instead of S-A-N-C-H-E-Z. And so I would request Ms. Benavides to do an administrative correction on those. On the first document, I see three different areas where that needs to be corrected.
Your Honor, I've already contacted the clerks.
Okay. Mr. Sanchez, is this your signature on the defendant's consent to motion to revoke hearing by video conference?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Martinez, as attorney for Mr. Sanchez, is this also your signature on this document?
It is, Judge.
Thank you. The next document I have is entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, which is marked, quote, is an adjudication of guilt following a deferred adjudication, and the defendant has a limited right of appeal, unquote. And Mr. Sanchez's name is also misspelled on this one, so please ask the clerks to correct that before it goes into final. And Mr. Sanchez, is this your signature on this document also, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Martinez, as attorney for Mr. Sanchez, is this also your signature on this document?
It is, Judge. I've signed the document.
Mr. Martinez, my understanding is that this is going to be an uncontested motion to enter adjudication of guilt and revoke community supervision. Is that correct?
Judge, he's going to plead true, but we do have an explanation.
Gotcha. Okay. But you're not requesting a contested motion to enter adjudication of guilt and revoke community supervision. Fair enough.
No,
okay.
Not.
Mr. Sanchez, in cause 662-066 on the motion to enter adjudication of guilt and revoke community supervision, how do you plead, sir?
True, Your Honor.
Court accepts the plea of true with an explanation. Fair enough, Mr. Martinez?
Fair enough, Judge.
All right. And Ms. Gross, would you please advise the court and the parties of the status of Mr. Sanchez's probation at this time, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Sanchez has done well on probation, although he did miss reporting the month of August of 2021. We last saw him January 24th, 2022. He has paid $1,356 towards his fees. He is current at this time and has a remaining balance of $235. He has completed all 48 hours of his community service. He's currently testing on Smart Start at 6 times per day and has skipped 3 tests. He's completed DWI education, victim impact panel, and CAT-SNP. And he has had 5 positive drug tests. 2 of those, he did admit to using marijuana. He's had, this is his first violation report, first MTR. He's had 2 prior arrests for burglary of a vehicle, and his officer is recommending weekly UAs and that he do CAT-SNP ASAP. However, that has since been completed. We're just awaiting a copy of his certificate.
What is the last urinalysis test we have on Mr. Sanchez?
Let me pull that up for you. It is on, and there is an explanation, which I believe counsel is going to talk to you about. His last positive was on January 28th.
Is that his last UA of any type?
Yes, about 2 weeks ago.
That was positive for marijuana.
Yes, and again, counsel has an explanation for that.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
Judge, Mr. Sanchez has a prescription for marijuana for THC. He's prescribed THC gummies for PTSD, for neuropathy, and for spasticity. He tried to go the conventional route and use what would be Schedule 3 mood stabilizers. He did not react well to those. Those left him feeling worse. After some discussion with me, I got him to a doctor. He was evaluated and he was found to fit the criteria for a prescription THC. And so he's been operating under that. So his UAs are going to be positive for THC, Judge, but it's consistent with his prescriptions. Once again, he's done his classes, he's paid his fines, he was ordered to do CAT SNP. He did that even before we showed up for the MTR. So this is not a lack of compliance. It is, it's a situation where if you were prescribed Xanax, or if you were prescribed Klonopin, if you were prescribed Adderall, we'd be in the same boat because there'd be some positive UAs, but those would also be consistent with his prescriptions.
And what is the date or what are dates of his medical marijuana prescription?
Some of them are prior to some of the dirty UAs are prior to the prescription date, but it was, once again, he came to me and said, look, you know what, I have these issues. I've tried standard prescription antidepressants and mood stabilizers. Here's the issues I'm having. So it will be previous to, his prescription is about, it's from December. It's about 45, 60 days ago. And so some of the UAs are previous to that, but the current UAs we're having are going to be consistent with his prescription.
Okay, so I didn't get an answer to my question. What is the date of his most recent medical marijuana prescription?
It's from December, Judge.
12/21, does that sound right?
12. Yeah, it's right before the holidays, Judge.
Okay, and who's the doctor that prescribed it? Somebody local or like an internet doctor?
No, it's somebody local. It's somebody out of Seguin.
Who is it?
It's an Austin doctor. I can get that information for you right now. But he went in person to get evaluated and get the prescription.
And did either he or you advise his probation officer that he was going to be using medical marijuana and there may be a false positive? Well, it won't be a false positive. It's still marijuana. It would technically be legal marijuana instead of illegal marijuana. Do you agree?
We did, Judge, but that, like I said, that was after we started having these issues, and Mr. Sanchez came to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to have these issues. What do I do?"
So
and
what
I told him,
would that have been December of 21 also?
Yes, Judge, that would have been.
Susan, do you have any notice from the defendant or his defense counsel that the defendant was going to be using medical marijuana and we may get a positive for marijuana that was a result of the medical prescription and not illegal marijuana?
I'm looking in his file right now, Judge. It'll take me a minute.
Take your time.
All right, Clarissa Pratt, that's Cody Mayfield.
Yes, Judge, I was reading on if
If you go back to break.
And so, Judge, the doctor in this case is Lynn Buchanan
In Austin?
in Austin.
What's the exact date of the prescription? Do you have that?
12/23 of 21, Judge.
And are there any previous prescriptions from that doctor or any other doctor for marijuana?
No, not prior to that date, Judge.
And the MTR was filed on January 5th, 2022. Okay.
I'm still reviewing, Judge. I haven't forgotten about you. Judge, in reviewing his file, I don't see anything in here in regards to visiting with a doctor or anything like that. However, on 12/22/21, when he spoke to his officer, he originally denied using marijuana, and then he did finally admit it after much conversation. And he admitted to using marijuana 2 days prior to the drug test. And he stated that he was using it to address issues with anxiety and depression. as a result of an incident that occurred to him over the last year.
And Judge, that incident is he was assaulted in Brazos County. That there's a court case pending there. He's been diagnosed with PTSD following that. So once again, when he brought this to me and said, "Hey, I've tried this other stuff, it's not working," I informed him in order to be in compliance with his probation, he would have to get evaluated and see if he qualified for a prescription, which in fact he did. Admittedly, some of this was out of order, Judge, but with that, he is in medical compliance now.
Susan, what was the original fine on this case? I'm looking for it. You taught me where to look for it, but I'm not finding it.
$850.
Gotcha.
And then also, I'm not finding where he requested and was issued a travel permit to go to Austin to visit this doctor.
Is that an allegation is that a condition on this MTR?
It's not on the MTR, it's just a comment.
Well, it's okay. That's small crackers, so we're not going to worry about that one. That's okay with Mr. Martinez.
No, that's fine, Judge.
All right. So, Mr. Martinez, once again, what are you requesting? Thank you for all the mitigation. And I want to make it crystal clear to everybody. And then what we tell them in the Veterans Treatment Court, we basically order them not to use medical marijuana. And I don't know if I have the authority to do that or not, you, me, and the land. But the ultimate issue is we can't discern between whether it is legal medical marijuana someone has been using or recreational illegal marijuana someone is using. And there's no affirmative defense for use of marijuana because you have a medical permit in Texas. If it was Colorado where it's legal, then I'm certain it would be affirmative. So at the very least, it's mitigation. Would you agree with my analysis, Mr. Martinez?
I would, Judge, but there's going to be no, I mean, the THC is THC. And if you've got under the Texas Compassionate Care Act, there are legal exceptions for people to be prescribed THC in Texas now. So once again, it's like barbiturates or, Xanax. We don't know if people are using it, consistent with the prescription or recreationally. All we know is whether or not they have a prescription.
I got you.
So we're kind of in the same boat with that.
I got you.
But so even though maybe there's preferences for people not to use certain things, either you're prescribed it or you're not. Admittedly, he was self-medicating before this came up. I did have him get evaluated to see, hey, do you qualify for this? Because the law has changed. And so, for the purposes of what he's being prescribed for now, it is legal for him to use it. And I think that, he's proven to the court that he can hold down a job, he can take his classes, he can, do what he needs to do and pay his fines and fees and stay in compliance and report. So we're asking the court to if the court wants to, up his UAs to make sure that he's staying in compliance with his prescriptions, not using anything he's not prescribed, we would encourage that. But once again, Judge, the fact that he was ordered to do catnip and he did it before we even came to court shows how willing he is to comply with this court.
All right, here's
So
go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted.
So I'm asking the court just to, increase his UAs.
Yes, Ms. Gross.
I just have one question. Why is he going to Austin for a doctor when we're like Medical Center USA here?
I don't know that. So what we did was we looked for a doctor that handles these sorts of issues. That was the first one we could find, obviously, because we had these issues on probation. Kind of time was of the essence. So, I wanted to say, look, if you're going to have this issue in court, then we need to show the court what's going on.
Okay.
And I didn't want to wait 30 days to find somebody. We found somebody who was already dealing with these issues. And so that's, that was the closest one we could find that was available.
Here's the ultimate question for Mr. Martinez and Mr. Sanchez. In the event that I decide to keep Mr. Sanchez on probation and not put him in the Bexar County Jail for 6 months, would Mr. Sanchez be willing to voluntarily not use any more medical marijuana with a prescription so that we can tell if he's illegally using marijuana or not in the future?
No, I mean, Judge, he's willing to do whatever the court needs him to do. The problem is, his alternative is to go back to the standard antidepressants, and that could cause some complications that we don't need. I mean, he was assaulted. He's had some issues with it. He's got PTSD. Obviously, this is something he's using to treat that issue. I'd ask the court to allow him to to follow his prescriptions. But if the court is going to say, look, your choices are jail or you don't use, then it's a pretty easy choice.
Okay. You're going to have to do that lawyer stuff for me at some future point, Lewis, and look at whether or not use of medical marijuana in Texas is an affirmative defense. My interpretation on Mr. Sanchez and everybody else is going to be that it's illegal marijuana. He's already got a historical trend of illegal marijuana. I've got plenty of basis for it. I'm not mad at Mr. Sanchez, and I'm very proud of you because this is a very clever lawyer tactic to try to avoid being tagged with using marijuana unlawfully. However, in the future, I'll have no way, just like today. Right. I have a delineation point of December 2021. Before that, he used illegal marijuana. After that, it's your representation that he was using lawful prescription marijuana. Do you agree that that's basically where we're at?
Yes, that's exactly right.
But in the future, if I keep him on probation, I will have no capability of knowing whether he's using, quote, legal marijuana or illegal marijuana.
Okay. So what I'll do, Judge, is I'll do the research on that. He will agree not to use until I've done the research and brought it to you.
Okay. That's more than, and then that, that's more than fair if we keep him on probation. So state recommendation on Mr. Sanchez.
Your Honor, the state agrees with probation's recommendation for weekly UAs.
And Judge, if the court so continues him, because he was previously smoking illegally, and then he again got a alleged prescription, he will probably test positive for at least another 30 days.
Well, if he continues using medical marijuana, quote unquote, he's going to test positive for the rest of his life. Don't you agree?
Yes, but if the counsel and the defendant have agreed to refrain from using the prescription marijuana, then it's going to take at least 30 days to get out of his system. So we would not allegedly have a clean test until March 9th.
I agree.
And it would not be worth it to put him on weekly UAs at this point in time because he's going to continue to test positive. It would be more amenable to
Can we
do a test.
If we keep him on weekly UAs, can't we see a reduction in nanograms on his test positive?
Yes, you can. But then again, you're not going to have a clean one until, at least March the 9th.
Okay, I got it. Mr. Martinez, anything further?
No, Judge.
Mr. Sanchez, in cause 662-066, the court accepts your plea of true with an explanation. I grant the state's motion to enter adjudication of guilt, the offense of obstructing passageway, roadway, and waterway. I sentence you to 6 months in the Bexar County Jail, probated for 8 months. Assess an $850 fine plus court costs, DWI education, DWI victim impact panel, community alliance for traffic safety, new intervention program. Susan, do I want intensive outpatient at this point, or is there an aftercare course after the regular CAT-SNP course?
There's no aftercare. It would be intensive outpatient. But in all honesty, at this point in juncture, I think that would be overkill.
Okay, then we won't order that. Weekly UAs, I want to monitor the nanogram count going up or going down or doing whatever. And I understand that if he's continuing to use medical marijuana, that's not going to tell us anything. And he gets credit for anything he's done or any money he's paid. What did I miss, Susan? What other issues? Did we have him on a Smart Start mobile at some point?
Yes, he still is, and he's testing it 6 times a day, and it looks like he has been since he was placed on probation.
So he's been on 6 blows a day on a Smart Start mobile since October 7th, 2021.
I was reviewing the file, and that was the best information that I could find. I'm sure.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sue.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sure Mr. Sanchez can tell you how long he's been blowing 6 times a day.
Sanchez, are you still blowing at 6 blows a day on the Smart Start mobile?
Yes, sir. I've been blowing since before my probation. On October, when you started me on probation, you told me 4, but it never changed with the company. So I've still been blowing at 6 times a day.
Okay. And he's been on probation for about 5 months. That sound right, Susan? Since October. So October, November, December, January, February, plus or minus 5 months.
Yes,
Yes, Your Honor. And he's only had 3 skip tests at 6 times a day. So he's done very well on the Smart Start Mobile.
Mr. Sanchez, do I have your word? We're not going to be doing any more drinking alcohol of any kind. We got enough problems with the marijuana issue, but I want to take you off the Smart Start Mobile completely because I think I abused you by leaving you on 6 blows a day when we should have reduced it to 4 after you were good for 30 days. That I was not brought to my attention. So that's basically my fault. So I apologize to you for that. Do I have your word? You're not going to drink any alcohol while you're on probation?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. I've had a lot to learn, and it's been really difficult, but I learned.
Let's waive the Smart Start Mobile. He's done well. State, what did I miss?
Nothing, Judge. That's everything.
Lewis, what did I miss?
That's it, Judge. And I'm going to do that research to see how we're handling that issue.
Okay, and I'll ask Brooke also where we're at on that, but I think it's still a up in the air question at this point.
Yeah.
And then
I mean,
I just have some instructions. Lewis and Mr. Sanchez, you're going to be receiving some paperwork from Pat here in a minute. It'll be
Okay.
your application for probation and a new
Okay.
data sheet. You got to fill those out and get those back to us as soon as possible. And
Okay.
then Mr. Sanchez, probation will be reaching out to you because you have to go through orientation again. So it's like you're starting all over.
Yes, ma'am.
But you're going to get credit for anything you've done, so you don't have to do the classes again. However, if you have not been contacted by probation by the time you wake up next Wednesday, you need to call this phone number. Mr. Martinez will write it down for you. It's 210-335-7446.
7446. Thank you.
And just let him know that you were in court today and you got a reformed judgment. You were placed on regular probation and you need an orientation date. Okay. And if you still have problems, just let Mr. Martinez know. He's got my phone number. He can call me and I'll get it all straightened out for you. Okay. Do you have any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. Good luck to you, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Ms. Gross.
Okay, hang on a minute until I get back up signing documents online. Okay. Anybody got any questions on Mr. Sanchez case at this time?
No, Judge.
Let Mr. Sanchez, thank you, Mr. Martinez, and y'all
Thank you.
excused. Okay, I just signed the documents for Ms. Flores, so I gotta wait till Pat gets those and sends them back in final form.
Judge, may I have 2 minutes, please?
I'm sure.